part, this part is the parietal bone. The green part is called the parietal bone. It's a type of bone called the parietal bone. Okay, the one where your hair is located by the side. This orange, this orange part is called the temporal bone. Is the temporal bone. Okay, this purple one is called the occipital bone. Okay, so at the back of the head is the occipital bone. Okay, and this occipital bone, this occipital part controls the lobe inside the occipital part, controls the vision. Okay, so this backbone, the lobe that is there, which is the occipital lobe, because this bone is protecting the brain, controls the vision. Okay, this yellow one is called the zygomatic bone. The zygomatic bone. The jawbone, this is the jawbone. You have the maxilla and the mandible. Okay, the purple is the maxilla. This green part is the mandible. Okay, the upper and the lower jaw. Okay, this is the nose, the nasal bone. This is the nasal bone. Okay, so let's continue. So this is the bone of the skull. Okay, and it is in parts. It is in parts, but joined together by this fibrous joint. So these features, is the joint, which is the fibrous joint. Again, when you look at the bone of the skull, okay, when you look at it from the superior view, from the superior view, okay, from the superior view, this is the nasal bone. This is the nasal bone. Again, this is the frontal lobe or the frontal bone containing the lobe of the brain, frontal lobe of the brain. Now, this is coronal suture. This joint, it goes like this from here, it goes like this. It's called the coronal suture. This is the coronal suture. It's a type of fibrous joint. Okay. Now, this lobe is the parietal bone. This part is the parietal bone. This is also the parietal bone. Okay. So two parts. This is parietal bone. But this side, by the side of it, this side is the temporal bone. Is the temporal bone. You have another suture here, okay, which is the sagittal suture. You can see it, sagittal suture. Okay, it goes vertical, vertical. So to make T, to make letter T with the coronal suture. Okay, the joint, the point here is called the bregma. Okay, where it makes a angle here is the bregma. Okay, then you have the parietal foramen. I told you the meaning of foramen last week. The foramen means hole. Okay, hole. Okay, so you have a hole here, which is the parietal foramen. Let's continue. Again, when you look at it laterally, so this is the Bregman or fontanel, frontal fontanel. This is where it makes the angle. Okay, with the corona suture, with the sagittal suture makes angle here, which is called the Bregman or the anterior fontanel or the frontal. You have another one posterior here. Okay, this angle with the back one is called the lumbar suture, while the front one is called the coronal suture. So the lumbar suture makes angle here which is called the posterior frontanel. Posterior frontanel. Okay. So again, we have looked at this as mandible, maxilla, zygomaticus bone, frontal bone, parietal bone, temporal bone. Okay, so these are the bones of the skull. So again, when you look at the newborn, okay, you look at the skull. This is the bregma I was talking about, which is the anterior frontanel. Okay, this is the posterior frontanel I was talking about that makes angle. This is the sagittal suture. So this is the lambdoid suture that looks like the coronal suture. So the front one is the coronal suture, the back one is the lambdoid suture. Okay, it makes angle here to form the posterior frontanel. This is the anterior frontanel. Okay, uh, this is the occipital bone. Don't forget, this is the occipital bone, and these are the two parietal bone. These are the two frontal bones. Again, I was talking about last week about the upper limb, the upper limb. Okay, the upper limb, the bones of the upper limb. Okay, so you have the clavicle at the front. Okay, it's a straight bone at the front. You have the scapula. You have the scapula at the back. So you can touch the scapula at the back, eh, which okay, bone of the upper limb. Okay, you have the humerus. You have the humerus, which is the upper part of the upper limb. You have the elbow joint here, and you have two bones here at the lower part. You have the ulna and the radius. The ulna, okay, and let me let me be sure again, sir. Okay, sorry about that. Complaining about the internet. Uh, but couldn't join. Okay, some people are complaining that they cannot join the class. Okay, sorry about the network. I'm trying to. Again, we are just looking at the bones of the upper limb. Okay, I said that this is the clavicle, which forms part of the. This is the scapula, which is at the back. Okay, which you can touch that articulate to the shoulder joint. So this is the humerus. This is the humerus of the upper limb. This is the elbow. This is the elbow joint, and this is ulnar bone and the radial or the radius, the radial bone. This is the wrist. You have the carpal bone here. You have the metacarpal, which is the next, and you have the phalanges, and they are the bones of the hand. okay, that forms the fingers. You have the phalanges, you have the metacarpal bone, and you have the carpal bone. Okay, and these are the part of the small bones. Okay, the humerus, the humerus, and the radial and ulnar are example of the long bone. Okay, during our classification here, and the ulnar and the radius as part of the long bone, and the uh, carpal, metacarpal, and phalanges uh, as part of the short or small bones of the hand. Okay. Now going to the lower limb, going to the lower limb, going to the lower limb. This is the pelvic. Okay, this is the pelvic girdle or the pelvic bone. Articulating with the pelvic bone is the femur. You can see it in red. This is so again, I said that the femur bone is responsible for the blood production, both the red blood cell, white blood cell, and the platelets. That inside the femur bone, you have the stem cell that is responsible for the production of blood cells. Okay, and the hormone, the hormone that triggers red blood cell production is erythropoietin. Okay, and this erythropoietin, this hormone is produced by the kidney. It's produced by the kidney. After the production, it will come to this femur bone to stimulate red blood cell production. You can see it. So, and femur bone is an example of the long bone. Okay, it's an example of the long bone which articulates with the what? With the pelvic bone. You can see this is the pelvic bone. This is the pelvic bone. Okay, this is the part of the this bone is part of the coccyx. This bone that I'm touching is the coccyx or coccygeal bone. It's called the coccygeal bone or the coccyx. Okay, it articulates. Uh, this part is part of the pubic symphysis. Last week when I was talking about the pubic symphysis, that I said that oxytocin during labor, during parturition, it will relax this pelvic ligament. So there's a ligament here that is called the pubic symphysis, which is the part of the birth canal where the baby will pass through. Okay, this part is where the baby will pass through, and this part must be relaxed. These joints, all these joints, must be relaxed by relaxin or oxytocin. Okay, so this is part of the pubic symphysis. Okay, it's part of the cartilaginous bone. It's an example of the cartilaginous bone, this pubic symphysis. is an example of the cartilaginous bone. So this is the bone of the leg. Okay. So this is the nail. This part is the nail that has the patella bone. This bone here is called the patella bone. Okay. The one that is called the nail cap, nail cap, nail cap. Okay. Now when you look at these two bones, you see one green, one yellow. Okay. The yellow is the tibia. The yellow is the tibia, while the green is the fibula. What carries the weight is the yellow one, but the fibula just support. Okay. The fibula, that is, you can see that the tibia is bigger than the fibula of the bone of the leg. Okay. The tibia is bigger, the tibia carries weight, and the fibula support. If the fibula is broken, if the fibula is broken, it is there is no danger. Okay. Because it carries less load. But if tibia is broken, it's more dangerous. It's more dangerous because it carries more it carries more weight. Okay. This yellow one, the tibia, carries more weight. So if anything should happen to it, it will be more devastating. It will be more devastating compared to the fibula. Okay. uh so, sorry for that network interruption. uh so as I was saying that, so sorry, I can't on my, it's not allowing me to on my video. uh okay, sorry, maybe we time bula carries weight, more weight compared to the fibula. Then you have the tarsa. You have the tarsa, you have the metatarsa and the phalanges. Okay, just like the carpa, the metacarpa and the phalanges in the upper limb, you have the you also have the tarsa, you have the metatarsa and the phalanges in the lower limb. So again, when you look at the typical bone, you will see that the bone, you know, has head, and this head articulates. If you look at the long bone, let me be the femur bone now, it has head which you use to articulate to form a joint like the ball and socket joint with the pelvic bone. It has neck, it has the greater trochanter. These are the projection I was talking about last week. Greater trochanter. Okay, you have the lesser trochanter. Okay, you have the trochanteric crest. This crest is the trochanteric crest. Okay, you have the tuberosity. This is the gluteal tuberosity, which forms an attachment for muscle. Okay,
Okay.
you have the pectineal line. This is the pectineal line. This is the pectineal line. So all these projection and depressions are for muscle attachment. They are for muscle attachment so that when there's contraction of muscle, the bone can be they can be able to move. Okay, the projection and depressions are important for muscle attachment, for the movement of the bone. Okay, so when you look at long bone, for example, this is an example of a long bone. Okay, look at the greater trochanter. Look at the head, the neck is there. Okay, the lesser trochanter. This is the body. This is the body. This is the condyle. So you have the lateral condyle, the medial condyle. Okay, and the intercondyle fossa. A fossa is like a depression. A fossa is like a depression, like a hole, but it's not completely open. Okay, so a fossa is like a depression. So you have the intercondyle fossa. You have the patellar groove. You have a groove here, which is called the patellar groove. So this is the anterior part, this is the posterior part. Anterior means the front, the frontal part. The posterior means the back, so the back of the bone. Again, when you look at the normal bone, this is the shoulder, this is the clavicle I was talking about, this is scapula. Okay, this is the part of the humerus, and it forms a joint with the scapula and the
Head.
clavicle here. So this is the joint. So if there is dislocation, this bone can be displaced from this location and come down like this. Okay, so this is an example of dislocation. So dislocation is not fracture. Okay, so it's just a displacement of bone from its original location. Again, look at the fracture I was talking about the other time. Okay, so this is the tibia, this is the fibula.
Yeah.
You can see that the fibula is broken. The
Mm-hmm.
fibula is broken. Okay, so this is when you have a broken bone, it's called a fracture. Okay, this is not dislocation, this is a complete fracture
Fraction.
of fibula. This is the tibia.
Fibula.
You can see that the tibia
Tibia.
is bigger than the fibula.
Tibia. Fibula.
So
Sequence.
during the stages of a fracture, okay, the stages of
Mm.
fracture, when you have a fracture and there is a healing process, these are the stages. Okay, You have number one, you have
So,
hematoma. Hematoma is blood clotting outside the bone. Okay, you have hematoma and inflammation. So you have blood clotting outside the bone and inflammation process. Then after that, you have the formation of soft callus. The formation of soft callus. All right. Soft callus is like a cartilage. It's a soft cartilage that will eventually become hard callus, which is the bony callus. It will become hard, okay, and tissue or bone remodeling will occur. So when a bone is broken or fractured, these are the processes of healing. You have hematoma and
mm-hmm.
inflammation, formation of soft callus, formation of hard callus, and bone remodeling. So from
Alas.
early pictures to late
Boni.
pictures. So this is how the bone repair and healing will take place. Bone repair and healing process. Now, last week again, I was talking about the three layers, the three layers of embryo. That bone is from the that bone is from the mesoderm, okay, and you can see the middle layer, which is the mesoderm. Okay, what comes from the middle layer? The muscles, the cardiac muscle, the skeletal muscles, the kidney, cells of the kidney, the red blood cell, and the smooth muscles, including the bones. Okay, so when you look at when you look at the three layers, I told you about the ectoderm, the mesoderm,
Mesoderm
and the
and
endoderm. So let's look at the mesoderm. Okay, during development, okay, you see the mesoderm. What comes from mesoderm? The muscles. So the musculoskeletal system. This is the skeleton, the bone, the kidney, and the reproductive organ. So, and this is the basis of what do I call it? Referred pain. So when anything happens to muscle, it can be referred to the skeleton. When something happens to the skeleton, it can be referred to kidney. When something happens to kidney, it can be referred to reproductive organ, and vice versa. Meaning that anything that happens to reproductive organ can be referred to kidney, kidney can be referred to bone, bone can be referred to muscles. You can see other layer, the endoderm. What comes from endoderm? Endocrine organ, the lungs, the digestive system, the liver is is derived from the endoderm. The ectoderm, the brain and the spinal cord, and the skin is from the fingernails
Ecto.
are from the ectoderm. So this is just to buttress our this thing. And again, look at the stages. I told you about zygote, a single cell that undergo cleavage. Cleavage is the process of multiplication and division. And from there, it will form morula. All right. From morula, it will form blastocyst. From blastocyst, it will form gastrula, gastrulation. So this is the layer. This is the part where the three layers will be formed: ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm through gastrulation. So
Relation.
after gastrulation, you see the mesoderm and you see the bone. So these are the parts of our body where they are derived from. So you can see the central nervous system, the peripheral nervous system is derived from ectoderm. Kidney, reproductive organ, bone, muscle, and the blood cells, the blood vessels. Okay, sorry about that. I was talking about these these different parts of the body system, the organs, and where they are derived from, right? During embryogenesis, during embryonic life. Okay, bones. We're talking about the bones. We're talking about the bones that the one of the function of bone is mineralization, mineralization of the body. That the bone stores minerals. And what are the minerals? It stores calcium and phosphorus. Okay, so calcium and phosphorus can be derived from bone. Okay, so this is the blood. This is the blood. Okay, this is the blood, and you have the calcium and phosphorus. So what other organ controls these things? You have the intestine. You have the intestine. So intestine absorb calcium and phosphorus into the blood, and they go to the bone to be stored. And when the blood level of calcium and phosphorus is low, the bone, these minerals are being mobilized from the bone to be released into the blood. And what hormones mobilizes phosphorus and calcium from bone? You have parathormone. So parathormone, this hormone is responsible for the regulation of calcium and phosphorus. Another hormone is called calcitonin. Alright, but the major hormone is parathormone. This parathormone is responsible for the regulation of calcium and phosphorus level in the blood. So when it's low, it mobilizes calcium and phosphorus from bone to be released into the blood. Again, this hormone also prevents the kidney. So the third organ is the kidney. So you have the bone, the intestine, and the kidney that regulate the organs that regulate the level of calcium and phosphorus. So this hormone also prevents loss of calcium and phosphorus from the kidney. Okay, parathormone
Okay.
prevents loss of calcium and phosphorus from the kidney.
Okay. Mobilizes calcium and phosphorus from the bone. Parathormone. Parathormone then indicates absorption of calcium and phosphorus from the intestine. And other facility
Okay,
dieta
so the
whether
kidney,
of calcium
the intestine,
has a
and the bone
phosphoric
are the
acid.
three organs that
Parathormone.
regulate calcium and phosphorus level in the blood through the help of parathormones. Okay, so this is how mineralization happens in the uh, in the
Calcium,
bone. And I
phosphorus.
told you that
That's
there's another hormone called estrogen, that when women when they get to menopause, the level of estrogen the level of estrogen is low. And one of the function of estrogen is that it helps in the mineralization of bone. So if estrogen is low, there will be loss of calcium from bone. Okay, which will cause the bone to become brittle, fragile, and diseased. And that disease is called osteoporosis, which is
osteoporosis.
due to lack of calcium in the bone. And that is caused by estrogen, lack of estrogen in women. Okay. Again, we look at joints. We look at joints last week. I told you that we have three types of joints. We have the fibrous joints.
Yes.
You can see
Yes.
these sutures. So fibrous joint is located in the skull. It
Okay.
prevents movement.
Okay.
You can't move it. So your skull are made up of bone, but those bones are in parts. They are in different, they are in bit by bit joined together by these
Okay.
sutures. You have the coronal suture, you have the lambdoid suture at the back. This is the occipital part, this is parietal, this is the temporal bone, this is the frontal bone. All these bones are joined together by these sutures. Okay, or futures or fuchsias, depending on the textbook you are using. You can see the zygomaticus bone, you can see the mandible, you can see the maxilla. Okay, so these bones of the skull are articulated, they are joined together by fibrous joint.
Articulate.
This is
Actually,
cartilaginous joint, is semi
cartilage.
movable, like the bone of your spinal cord. You can bend, but you can't bend completely, you will break it, or you can't bend in the opposite direction. Okay, you will break it. Okay, now what you are saying is that cartilaginous joint allows some degree of movement. Okay, so you can bend forward now in this using this bone, but you can't bend backwards. Although in acrobatic, people that are flexible, they can bend, but it is still limited. It is still limited. It is still limited, the kind of bending you can do with it. Okay, so it provides some degree of movement. This is synovial joint. This is like a ball and socket joint. It's like a ball and socket joint. Okay, so this you can swing your hand and you can swing your leg with this type. This provide free movement, free movement. Okay, free movement. Okay, so these are the categories of joint we have. So under that you have different types of joint. Okay, look at this one now, is another, is a subtype of joint, which is the gliding joint. This is how it looks like. The hinge joint, the pivotal joint or the pivot joint, the ellipsoidal joint, the saddle joint, the ball and socket joint. Look at it here. Look at it, and look at where you can find them. The pivot joint is this, and you can find it in the neck. Hinge joint, this is the hinge joint. You can find it in the elbow.
Okay.
This is the saddle joint. The saddle joint, you can find it in your uh, carpal and metacarpal. So saddle joint can be found in the carpal and the metacarpal
Papa.
of the hand.
Okay.
This
Saddle.
is ball and socket joint.
Sockets.
Ball and socket joint. You can find it in your shoulder. Femur articulates with the pelvic joint. Okay, through using ball and socket joint. Again, this your humerus. This humerus articulate with the shoulder. Okay, with ball and socket joint. Okay, this is the condyloid joint. Condyloid joint can be found in the wrist, in the wrist,
Wrist.
in the wrist. Then
Delayed.
this is the plain joint. It can be found in the ankle of your leg,
Hinge.
before the tarsal, between the tibia and the fibula. The tibia and the fibula forms plain joint with the carpal, or rather tarsal with the tarsal. Okay, so you can see plain joint in the tarsal, condyloid joint in the metacarpal and the phalanges, ball and socket joint in the hip bone of the femur, where hip bone, you know the pelvic bone is the hip bone. And I told you that the hip bone, this pelvic bone, is different in men and women. Women are more robust, more bigger, more broader. Men's own are narrow and tiny. So what you have there is ball and socket joint. In the neck, you have the pivotal joint. You know, the neck has a vertebral column, vertebrae. The hinge joint is the humerus and the ulna. Where you have the elbow, then the saddle joint is the metacarpal and the carpal. That's where you find the saddle joint. So these are the subtypes of joints. Okay, so these are the broader joint. Again, I'm repeating it again with this diagram again. Fibrous joint is found in the head. You can see this is the coronal suture, forms the fibrous joint. The cartilaginous joint is the it can be found in the vertebral column. The uh,
Mobile joint.
synovial joint can be found in or elbow, the nail or elbow. Okay, and if you look at the hinge joint now, the subtypes, the subtype of joint can be found in the elbow. Again, look at the fibrous joint, okay, which forms a fibrous connective tissue between bone, so which can be found in the skull bone. So this is how the fibrous joint look like. Okay, synanthrosis joint, fibrous joint. This is the cartilaginous joint, okay, between two bones. Okay, so between two bones, you have the cartilage in between, and you have the uh what do you call it, the ligament joining the two bones together, this yellow one. Okay, then so the cartilaginous bone, you have the amphidrotrosis joint, then the synovial joint, the arthrosis joint, which forms a synovial fluid. So this part is the synovial cavity, which have a synovial fluid, and I told you that last week you also have synovial membrane. So this membrane, this synovial membrane, okay, and this fluid can become inflamed. Inflammation can occur, and that inflammation can lead to arthritis arthritis of the synovial joint. So such as the elbow or the nail bone. The nail can become so painful and inflamed, it will become swollen, the nail. Okay, so these are the ligaments that binds the bone together. I say ligaments connect bone to bone, while ten don connect muscle to bone. Okay, you will still see the diagram. Okay, maybe when we are discussing muscle. Okay, suture. Suture, when you see suture, you see the brain,
Brain.
the bone of the skull, okay, protecting the brain. That's where you find suture. An example of the fibrous joint. This is another example of fibrous joint, syndesmosis. Okay, between two bones, in between you have a fibrous joint. Okay, a cartilaginous joint. Ehen, I was talking about cartilaginous joint the other time, that oxytocin and relaxin will relax. You see this arrow is pointing towards the pubic symphysis, the pubic bone, where you have the birth canal. This place is the vagina, and what you have in the vagina to the cervix is the pubic symphysis that allows the baby to come out, alright, during parturition. And so this bone of the pelvic can relax, okay, with the help of hormones. Okay, synchondrosis can be found in the rib bone, the chest bone, the bone of the rib. Okay, and is an example of cartilaginous bone, or cartilaginous joint rather, synchondrosis joint and the symphysis joint. You can see the diagram here. Okay, synanthrosis immobile, amphithrosis is slightly movable, and the arthrotic joint is a movable joint which can be found in the ball and socket joint. Okay, so this is just to also emphasize. I will send this material to all of you guys, maybe on Telegram, so that all of you can have it. Okay. But it's just to also make you understand the musculoskeletal system and buttress what we have been discussing. Okay. So, and it's very, very important. All the different parts of bone and their names are very important. Okay. So you have the major bones here, the frontal bone, the parietal bones, occipital bone, and temporal bone of the skull. So once you hear frontal bone, you know that the bone of the skull. Okay. So today we'll be talking about muscle. We'll be talking about muscle. Okay. So as a form of introduction, muscles are also uh, tissues or organs of the body that is made up of cell. It's made up of cell. Okay. And those cells are called muscle fibers. They are called muscle fibers. Okay. And those muscle fibers, this fiber can be called myofibril. Myofibril, you will see an example of myofibril, which is the functional unit of a muscle is the myofibril, which is the cell of the muscle. Okay. And each muscle fibers are very long, they are thin, and they are made up of cell. Okay. And the muscle can contract and relax. They can contract and relax. Okay. And the contraction and relaxation of muscle is responsible for what brings about what movement in the body. So your tongue can contract and relax, and that gives you ability to speak and to digest food. If the tongue cannot contract and relax, you cannot speak, or you cannot talk, and you cannot swallow. So we are saying that the ability of the muscles to contract and relax brings about movement in the body. There are three types of muscle, three major types of muscle. You have the cardiac muscle, you have the smooth muscle, and you have the skeletal muscle. Cardiac muscle, smooth muscle, and skeletal muscle. Now, in smooth muscle, why is it called smooth muscle? Because it is located across the internal organs. Smooth muscle can only be found in the internal organs, such as the stomach, the intestine. The stomach, the intestine, the uterus, the reproductive the male reproductive organ, the female reproductive organ, the stomach, the intestine. That's where you find the smooth muscle. It is smooth because on its appearance, it is smooth. There's no line on it. It contracts and relax. And contraction and relaxation of smooth muscle brings about the function of the muscle. And what are the function? The function of smooth muscle is based on the location. So when it contracts in the uterus, it brings about parturition.
Patricia,
When it contracts in the stomach,
Papa,
it brings about digestion.
kò ní ẹyọ kan méjì ní tiwọn báyìí.
When it contracts in the intestine, it brings about what movement of feces. So for you to defecate, defecation means that you want to pass away your feces, your stool is defecation. So when we say defecation, that means you want to eliminate your waste product, okay, in the intestine. So ability of the smooth muscle of the intestine to move, of the large intestine to move, will bring about what? Defecation. And smooth muscle is not something you control. You don't control it. You cannot control it. You don't control how your stomach contract and relax. You don't control how your intestine contract and relax. You don't control how your uterus contract and relax. So it is involuntary muscle. Since you cannot control it, it is regarded as involuntary muscle. Another muscle is the skeletal muscle. Another muscle is the skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscle is attached to bone. So any bone, any muscle that attaches to bone is a skeletal muscle. Okay? Your facial muscle, when you want to frown, you want to smile, you can be intentional about it. You can control your facial muscle. Maybe you see your enemy now, you frown. It's because there are skeletal muscle on your face. You see your loved ones, you smile because that facial muscle is attached to facial bone and it's skeletal muscle, and that is why you can control it. So skeletal muscle is a voluntary muscle. If you see a lion, you run. If you see a snake, you run because you decided to run because you can control your skeletal muscle. The skeletal muscle is a voluntary muscle. It is under your own control and
Okay.
it allows your bone to move. It allows your bone to move. Now, the third type of muscle is called the cardiac muscle. The cardiac muscle.
Oh,
In cardiac muscle is only found in the heart. Last week I told you that cardiac means heart. Vascular, vascular means blood vessel. So when you see cardiac muscle, is muscles of the heart. Cardiac muscle can also contract and relaxes. So when e contract and relax, it brings about what? Heartbeat. So when your heart is beating, when you check the heart and it's beating, you know that that muscle is contracting and relaxing. You are okay. But if it's not beating, that means there's no contraction and relax. The person is dead. It also allows pumping of blood. So when it contracts, it pumps blood. When it relax, it gets blood. It retains blood. So contraction, it will release blood. Relaxation, it will retain blood. Cardiac muscle cardiac muscle have many mitochondria, and that is why they don't get tired easily. Why? Because mitochondria is where you produce ATP, and this ATP is a source of energy, and that is why eh that's why among the three muscle, this cardiac muscle is the one that works continuously. It works continuously. Skeletal muscle can rest, smooth muscle can rest, but cardiac muscle don't rest. Every minute it is working. And why? Is because it has a lot of mitochondria, ATP. And what's the full meaning of ATP? Adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine triphosphate is the ATP. And you can see this help to resist fatigue. So the cardiac muscle must not get tired. It must not get, if it gets tired, there won't be contraction and relaxation, and that person will die. Again, cardiac muscle is an involuntary muscle. That means it is like the smooth muscle. It is not under your control. It is not under your control. If somebody breaks your heart now, maybe your girlfriend cheats you or your boyfriend cheats you, and you say, hey, my heart stop beating, it will not answer you because you cannot control it. It is not under your control. It is an involuntary muscle. You can't tell the heart, stop beating. It will not answer you. Okay? So cardiac muscle and skeletal muscle are arranged in bundles and they have striation or strip. Okay? They have lines. They have lines. Only smooth muscle don't have differences or the functions, the description, functions, and location of these three muscles. Number one, smooth muscle. Description is that it is elongated, spindle shape, it doesn't have lines, and It has one nucleus. It is involuntary muscle, and it has lines with dark and light band. Light and dark band. It is involuntary muscle. It is located only in the heart. Skeletal muscle. It is long, thin fiber, contains line. It is multinucleated. It has many nucleus. It has pattern. It has red and white line. So this red and white line, you eat skeletal muscle. So like chickens and turkey, they have white muscle. This white muscle is the white type of skeletal muscle. The goat and cow, they have red muscle. This red muscle is a type of skeletal muscle. Okay, so when you look at the flesh of chicken and turkey, it is white muscle, white skeletal muscle. But when you look at goat meat and cow meat, it is red muscle. Okay, in appearance. Then it is voluntary muscle, and it is attached to what? Bone. It attached to bone by tendon. It attached to bone by tendon. So tendon attach muscle to bone. Again, let's look at the type of muscle here. Look at how cardiac muscle looks like. This is how cardiac muscle looks like, found in the heart. Okay, look at skeletal muscle. You found on the lower limb and upper limb, and it has multiple nucleus. You see nucleus on one muscle fiber. You can see about 3 nucleus on one. This second one has 3 nucleus. This third one has 2. This fourth one has 3. Okay, but this one, only this fiber has 1. The next fiber has 1. This one has 1. This one has 1. This one has 1. Again, the smooth muscle, and you can see line, this pattern, this line on the you can see the appearance. You can see lines. You can see this line on the muscle. It has lines, but smooth muscle don't have line. It is plain. It is also it has 1 nucleus per muscle fiber, and is located in the internal organ, intestine, uterus, stomach, and the reproductive organ. Let's compare and contrast now the difference. Skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle, and smooth muscle. It has line, it doesn't have line. It has multiple cell or multiple nucleus, and it branches. Okay, it branches. It has only one spindle. Look at it. This is just one branch, one spindle. This one has branch. Okay, this one can also be branched. It can be branch or not branching. Okay, so skeletal muscle can be non-branching. This one is branched. This one is non-branching. This one has multiple nucleus. This one is single nucleus, and this one is single nucleus. This one has no disc. This one has disc. Cardiac muscle has disc. Smooth muscle has no disc. This one is attached to bone. This one is attached to is the heart cell. This one is found in the hollow organ, internal organ. This one is voluntary, involuntary, involuntary. This one provide body movement, heart contraction, circulation, and intestinal organ movement. This one, in terms of energy, it is fast. This one is intermediate. This one is slow. But this intermediate now, when it becomes fast, eh, it can lead to hypertension, and that is why cardiac muscle is intermediate. It's intermediate. Intermediate. So it's only this one that you can use to run very fast. Okay? So when you run too, this cardiac muscle can become fast and be beating fast. But after some time, it will come down to normal. This one is slow. Still on the differences, contraction, and similarities and differences between the three muscles. Skeletal muscle is found in the limb. Okay, smooth muscle is found in internal organ. These are the location, and this one is found in the heart. Cylindrical in shape, spindle in shape, cylindrical in shape. One nucleus, one nucleus. Fine. Skeletal muscle is unbranched. Smooth muscle is unbranched. Cardiac muscle is branched. There is no disc, intercalated disc in skeletal muscle. There is intercalated disc in cardiac muscle. There is no intercalated disc in smooth muscle. Skeletal muscle can get tired, fatigue easily. Smooth muscle do not get tired. Cardiac muscle never gets tired. Skeletal muscle is voluntary. Smooth muscle is involuntary. Cardiac muscle is involuntary. Again, in terms of location between the two, found in the bone, found in the heart, the length, cardiac muscle is shorter, skeletal muscle is longer. What controls it? The autonomic nervous system controls it because it is involuntary. Then this one, the somatic cell, the somatic cell or the somatic nervous system, that is you yourself under your will, you control it. The function or the shape, semi-spindle, cylindrical. The function, it pumps blood, it allows body movement. In terms of gap junction is present, gap junction is absent. In terms of nucleus, single nucleus, multiple nucleus. Endomysium is dense, it has less dense endomysium. In terms of speed of contraction is medium, less, intermediate. This one is fast. Skeletal muscle is fast. In terms of contraction, there is no nervous stimulation in terms of contraction. Contraction is through nervous stimulation. Now look at skeletal muscle. Look at how skeletal muscle looks like. This is the bone. Okay? This muscle is attached to this bone with the aid of tendon. The outer layer is called epimysium. Epimysium. Okay? The inner layer that covers all the fiber, muscle fiber, is the perimysium. Perimysium. You have blood vessel. This is the single muscle fiber which is called myofibrin. And this myofibrin, muscle fiber, has endomysium. So you have endomysium in the muscle fiber. These are the single cell of muscle fiber, which contains strand, which is a strand of a muscle. Together it is muscle, but this is a single muscle fiber which has endomysium. You all together they have perimysium. Then outer layer of muscle you have epimysium. This is the tendon, this is the bone. So when this muscle contract, it will pull this bone. So you can see. Okay, so the connective tissues that covers the muscle are epimysium, perimysium, and endomysium. So epimysium is a fibrous sheet that surrounds the entire skeletal muscle, as I've shown you. Perimysium is a fibrous sheet that divides the muscle tissue into fascicle. Then epimysium is a loose connective tissue surrounding each fiber, okay, as I've described to you. Now, we are talking about contraction and relaxation of muscle. Contraction and relaxation of muscle. Now, in smooth muscle, how smooth muscle contract is different from how skeletal muscle contract. Contraction of skeletal muscle and that of cardiac muscle are almost the same. So, but the cardiac muscle and skeletal muscle contraction is different from smooth muscle. So let's look at how smooth muscle contraction occurs. Look at it. It occurs through excitation, contraction, coupling. Excitation, contraction, coupling. So from excitation, it will lead to what? Contraction. So let's look at the process. The muscle is excited by various inputs. So what excites smooth muscle? What excites smooth muscle? Smooth muscle is located in the internal organ, maybe in the gut. So when you put food in your mouth, okay, when you put food in your mouth, it must excite the muscle of the tongue to contract. Okay, okay. Some people, when they see jollof rice, maybe they are doing occasion and they begin to see food, their tongue begins to contract and their salivary gland begins to secrete saliva. They salivate. Okay, so excitation can be because of sight. Maybe you see food or the food is placed in your mouth, it will induce excitation, which will bring about increase in calcium level. So there's intracellular increase in calcium level. So calcium inside the cell will increase. All right, so there will be inflow of calcium into the cell. Calcium will flow into the cell. Now this calcium will bind to an enzyme or a protein called camodulin. Calcium will bind to camodulin. Calcium binds to a protein called camodulin. Okay, this camodulin will lead to a process called phosphorylation. Calcium camodulin complex will cause phosphorylation of myosin kinase. Myosin kinase, an enzyme called myosin kinase, and there will be formation of cross bridge formation. And once cross bridge forms, there will be contraction. Contraction is pulling actin and myosin fiber of the muscle together. The actin and the myosin filament of the muscle will be pulled together. So this is the process of smooth muscle contraction. It is different from skeletal muscle and cardiac muscle contraction. So let's look at how skeletal muscle gets contraction. It also starts from excitation, contraction, coupling. So what excites skeletal muscle? Motor neuron input. So an example, you see a lion, you see a snake, you touch electric wire. All these things will excite your skeletal muscle. What will happen next is that it will lead to increase in calcium level. Increase in calcium. When there is increase in calcium, that calcium will bind to troponin, a protein called troponin. Troponin is not available in smooth muscle. What is available in smooth muscle is camodulin. Camodulin is not available in skeletal muscle. What is available is troponin. You can see the difference. Now, calcium troponin will cause tropomyosin to move. This tropomyosin inside the skeletal muscle, it will move. Once it moves, It will expose myosin. It will expose myosin to the binding site on the actin. And when myosin is exposed to the binding site of actin, cross bridge will form and contraction will take place. So here you have camodulin, here you have troponin, here you have myosin kinase, here you have tropomyosin. So you see the two differences. Let's move on. Let's see another thing. Okay, look at it. Smooth muscle contraction. You see how calcium is flowing into the cell. Okay, when I say there will be influx of calcium, so calcium will move inside the cell. Okay, when it moves inside the cell, it will bind to camodulin and activate myosin kinase. It will activate myosin kinase, okay, to cause contraction. So it will lead to contraction. How? Between actin and myosin filament. Relaxation, for the muscle to relax, it will activate myosin phosphatase. You can see it here. Myosin phosphatase. So this is how smooth muscle is contracted. Calcium will flow, calcium will bind to camodulin. Camodulin will activate myosin kinase and cause contraction. And after the contraction, you have relaxation. How? There will be activation of myosin phosphatase, which will cause relaxation of the muscle. Let's look at skeletal muscle. The skeletal or cardiac muscle. Okay. Also, I've told you about excitation contraction coupling. Okay. So there is influx of what? Calcium into the cell. Okay. Number one, there's what? Action potential. Calcium will move into the cell. Okay. Number three, calcium will be released from sarcoplasmic reticulum. So number four, there is increased calcium level. Number five, calcium binds to troponin to form cross bridge. Number six, calcium is removed. Okay, this is contraction. After calcium binds to troponin, it will form cross bridge and cause contraction. But relaxation is brought about by removal of calcium, and troponin will release calcium, and cross bridge formation will cease, will stop. Okay, and the myofibril will what? Relax. So this is relaxation, contraction. Okay, in contraction you can see that there is relaxation. You can see that there is a big space here. This middle line is called the M line, M line, M line, M line. There is no space in the M line here, and that's why it is M line. You can see it is relaxation. Sorry for that network. Sorry for that network issue. Okay, lecturer sir, your internet. Sorry, what hormone? Please, does it mean that intestine and parathormone perform the same function? No. Parathormone is hormone, intestine is an organ. Okay, let me continue. Okay, so again, we are talking about muscle here. I said that the unit of muscle is myofibril. And see it here. So the middle line is the M line. You can see it. You see the M line. You see the Z line or the disc, Z disc, the I band, the A band. So these are part of the muscle. So between the Z disc and another Z disc is the sarcomere. Is the sarcomere. Okay? Between two Z disc is the sarcomere. Okay? And in one sarcomere, you have the I band, the A band, the M line. Okay? So this is how. So the I band and the A band is present in the cardiac muscle and in the skeletal muscle, and that is why it has line, it has striation. Okay, it has line. That is what makes the muscle to have line. Again, you see the myofilament. This blue is the actin, this red is the myosin. So myosin is red, it is very big and thick. Actin is thin, myosin is thick. So this is present in the muscle, both in skeletal and cardiac muscle, as a muscle filament. And this filament is what causes contraction, because when the two of them binds together through cross bridge, it will now pull the Z line. This part is the Z line. It will pull together to cause contraction. When there is no binding between them, then they move far apart from each other, and that is relaxation. So you see a muscle. Okay, this is sarcomere. Between two Z line is a sarcomere, and in a sarcomere you see that this muscle is a relaxed muscle. There is a big space here, and here there is a small space in a contracted muscle. So sarcomere, the contractile unit of a myofibril. This one muscle fiber. One muscle fiber is a myofibril. Then the functional unit of myofibril is the sarcomere. Okay, and in the sarcomere you have the thin actin filament and the thick myosin filament. The thick and the thin filament. So again, look at it. Look at the muscle fiber here. So you can see that it has line. So it can be either be what? Cardiac muscle or skeletal muscle. So this is a muscle fiber. This is the nucleus. This is the light band, which is the I band. This is the dark band, which is the A band. This is the myofibril. This is the sarcomere. This is the mitochondria. Okay. So in a myofibril, you have the M line, you have the I band, you have the A band, you have the H zone, you have the Z disc. Okay, I will define all these Z disc, H zone, I band very soon. Okay, now in a skeletal muscle sarcomere, a sarcomere is the functional unit of a myofibril. You have the I band, and I band is the thin actin filament. The A band is the thick myosin filament. So the A band contains thick myosin and thin actin filament. The H zone is the lighter region of the H band. It contains only thick filament. The M line is the center of the H zone, and it marks the midpoint of a sarcomere. So look at it. The entire Z line, between one Z line to another Z line, is the sarcomere. So in a sarcomere, you have the I band, which is the uh, the thin actin filament. You have the A band, and the A band contains both the I band and the myosin. It contains the actin and the myosin filament. You have the H zone, which has only the myosin filament, and the M line, which is the center of the sarcomere. So this is actin, this is myosin. So this is the light band, this is the thick band. Okay. Again, this diagram is just showing the high band. You can see from the Z line or Z disc to this place is the high band. Okay. The H zone, H zone is the thick myosin filament. When you look at when you look at the contracted muscle, the space in the M line and the H zone and the H zone of the relaxed filament, you can see that this one is wide, this one is narrow. So it shows that this one is contracted, this one is relaxed. This titin, this titin is the anchoring, is a protein that anchors on the Z line or Z disc. This is the Z disc. This titin is a protein that anchors on the Z disc. This is myosin head. This is myosin tail. This is actin filament. So these are part of a muscle fiber, and it's important you know it. So look at a muscle fiber. This is a bone and it's attached to muscle by tendon. Okay. This is epimysium, the outer covering. This is the perimysium that covers all the bundles, and this is the endomysium that covers only the fiber, muscle fiber. This is the muscle fiber. This is a muscle fiber. This is a muscle fiber is also a myofibril. This is a myofibril. In the myofibril, you have the in the myofibril you have the I band, Z disc, M line, A band, myosin, actin, H zone, and the sarcomere. Okay, so the myofilament is
Now,
these two.
send you people message. Wàhálà yín pọ̀ o. Open the door. I didn't ask you to open the door now. Aláṣẹ ń rẹ yín báyìí. The door is not open.
Okay, so the two type of myofibril or myofilament rather is the actin and myosin filament. The actin and myosin filament. These are the examples of a myofilament. So let's define them here. Actin is a thin filament of a sarcomere. Myosin is a thick filament of a sarcomere. I band contains the light band of the sarcomere. So meaning that it contains only the actin filament. The Z disc, okay, is the beginning and the end of a sarcomere, okay, and is the anchoring point for the actin filament, which is the titin. The A band is the dark band of the sarcomere. It contains both the actin filament and the myosin filament. Okay. The H zone is the lighter zone of the A band, which lacks actin filament, contains only the myosin filament. The M line is the center of the H band. Okay. The center of the sarcomere. Okay. The middle point of the sarcomere is the M line. Now, there can be problem with muscle, such as fatigue. Fatigue in a muscle can cause tiredness or muscle spasm, which is the muscle pull. Okay, and what can cause fatigue in a muscle? When there is accumulation of waste product. So what are the examples of waste product that can accumulate in the muscle? You have lactic acid. Lactic acid can accumulate in a muscle. You also have pyruvate, pyruvic acid. Pyruvic acid can accumulate in the muscle. You know, the fuel or the energy for muscle is ATP. So in the process of converting this energy into converting ATP into energy for use, it can generate waste such as pyruvic acid, pyruvate and lactic acid, lactate. And when this waste product accumulates in the muscle, it will cause cramp, spasm and fatigue. Another problem with muscle can be dermatomyositis. Dermatomyositis and polymyositis is inflammation of the muscle. It is a very rare disorder and it affects women more than men. Okay, it can occur at old age, but doesn't have but it can occur at any age, but more common in old age among 50s. It is characterized by muscle weakness. So weakness of muscle. That person can no longer lift heavy objects, can no longer walk or talk, you get tired easily. Okay, it can affect the muscles of the trunk, okay, such as the waist, okay, the hip, the shoulder, the neck muscle. Or it can affect the internal organs such as the muscles of the throat, the esophagus, okay. And if it affect the esophagus or the throat, there will be problem of swallowing, okay. There will be problem of swallowing or talking. Even there will be problem of respiration caused by severe pneumonia, okay. So there will be problem with respiration, with swallowing. Another one is muscle dystrophy. Muscle dystrophy is a disease of the muscle that causes weakness of the musculoskeletal system. It affects movement. Muscle dystrophy affects movement, okay. It is characterized majorly by lack of muscle proteins. And what are the muscle proteins? The camodulin and the troponin. The troponin and the camodulin as the muscle proteins, okay. So it can cause weakness and death uh, of the muscle. So it affects movement. Muscle dystrophy affects movement and is more common in male than female. It also affects children and the adults. It doesn't have respect for any age. It affects both children and adults. Another one is muscle atrophy. The other one is dystrophy. This one is atrophy. Atrophy is muscle wasting. It occurs majorly in people with spinal cord injury. When there's spinal cord injury, it can lead to muscle atrophy and that muscle will begin to waste. Alright, it affect people and they become bedridden. Alright, muscle wasting makes people to become bedridden and they cannot walk, okay. There is loss of muscle tone, loss of calcium in muscle and bone, and the um muscle becomes wasted. It occur majorly as a result of damage to the nerve supply to the muscle. So if nerve supply, maybe people with spinal cord injury and the spinal cord project nerves to the muscle. So if those nerve supply are damaged, it will lead to muscle atrophy, which will cause muscle wasting, okay. So these are the 3 or 4 types of muscle pull or muscle cramp as a result of accumulation of waste product, muscle atrophy as a result of damage to the nerve fiber, muscle dystrophy as a result of lack of proteins in the muscle, and dermatomyositis as a result of inflammation of muscle. Okay, so uh these are the discussion concerning bones and muscle for today. So we'll go into questioning and answer because I know that you have many questions and answer. Maybe due to the new platform or the network instability. Uh, if you want to talk and you cannot talk, you can chat. I will pick the questions from the chat and answer. Maybe because of network. Okay, I'm so sorry about that. And also my video is dysfunctional. I don't know why the webcam is not coming up. I tried to switch it on, but it's not coming.
Good evening, sir.
So, Fatima, are you Fatima Fatima Musa or Farouk Mustafa? Any question? Any question? Any question?
Hello, I have a question, sir. This is Abbas Abdulaziz. Hello, sir.
Hello?
This is Abbas Abdulaziz, sir.
All right, go ahead. I can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the class. My question is this. Can you please repeat the name of the first stage of bone healing, sir? The first stage
Okay.
of bone healing. Thank you, sir.
The name.
ẹ rántí yọ kú o ṣé ìyẹn ó ti rọ ni.
Okay, in bone healing, I said there will be accumulation of blood outside the bone, hematoma, which is hematoma, and there will be acute inflammation. The first stage is that there will be accumulation of blood, hematoma, and inflammation. Second stage is that there will be formation of soft callus, soft cartilaginous bone. The third stage is that the soft callus or soft cartilaginous bone will turn to hard callus, bony cartilage. And that cartilage will be remodeled, bone remodeling to form a proper bone. Abbas, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, sir. Understood the message.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Any question? Any question? Including comment and observation. Okay, please, sir. The functional unit of muscle is called what? Okay. The functional unit of muscle is called myofibri. Myofibri. Let me post it. Let me show you. The functional unit of muscle is called myofibri. Okay. Fatima, I hope you can see my pen. You can see it. Myofibri. Myofibri. And the functional unit of a myofibri is a sarcomere. 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 The functional unit of a muscle is a myofibri, and the functional unit of a myofibri is a sarcomere. You see, this is a myofibri, single muscle. The functional unit of a muscle is a myofibri, and in a myofibri, you have a sarcomere. Okay. Okay, say noted. Okay. All right. Any other question? Any other question? Okay, somebody asked that, please, does that mean that intestine and paratome performs the same function? Uh, uh, okay, I think I understand what you are saying. Yes, they perform similar function in the sense that you are saying that intestine helps to absorb calcium and phosphorus from food, and it is absorbed into the blood. And again, I'm saying that parathormone helps to mobilize calcium from bone and phosphorus from bone, mobilization of calcium, so that there will be increased blood level of calcium and phosphorus. Again, intestine also helps in what? Increasing blood level of calcium and phosphorus. So they have a similar function. So you are right. Intestine and parathormone may be performing similar function in the sense that they increase the level of serum, the blood level of calcium and phosphorus. The blood level of calcium and phosphorus. Any other question? Any other question? Please ask your question. Please ask your question. Anywhere you are confused, I will also send the lecture notes to you. The lecture note is a simplified version of that your original note. So I just developed this one to help you understand that one. Okay? So I'll send it to you. Okay. Somebody is asking, what is the meaning of disk? What is the meaning of disk? Intercalated disk. Okay, I said uh, in my class, I said that there is what? Intercalated disk in the uh, cardiac muscle. Okay, there's intercalated disc in the cardiac muscle, and that intercalated disc is a type of joint. I think Mrs. Olukade should have taught you type of junction. Okay, type of junction in a muscle. Okay, maybe so for example, gap junction. So intercalated disc is a type of junction. Is a type of junction in in cardiac muscle, and what it does is that it facilitates increased level of electrical transmission and nutrients within cardiac muscle. Cardiac muscle don't get tired, and it works continuously. It's the only muscle that works continuously. So, and that is why it is the only muscle that have intercalated disc. So that function of intercalated disc is the junction, and that junction serve as exchange of nutrients and electrical activities. So passage of nutrients and electrical impulses, so that impulses can be fast. Okay, so that there will be rapid exchange of impulses between the muscle fiber. That is why that intercalated disc is there. So it is a type of junction. Okay, in muscle you have different junction, and I think it's Miss Olukade that will teach you that one. Type of junction: desmosome, hemidesmosome, gap junction, uh, in, intercalated disc. So intercalated disc is a type of junction that allows rapid, fast movement of impulses and nutrients in the muscle. Any question? Any question again? If you cannot talk, you can type. If you cannot talk, you can type. So cardiac muscle
Hello, sir.
is It's the only muscle with intercalated disc. Okay.
Hello, sir.
Zach.
Sir, hello,
Yeah,
sir.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Please, what are the major differences between a smooth muscle and other non-smooth muscle? The major differences, major. Thank you, sir.
Major. Okay. One, from the name, smooth muscle is smooth. It doesn't have any pattern. Other muscles, they have pattern. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, smooth muscle is uh is in terms of contraction. In terms of
Yeah.
contraction,
Yes, sir.
contract through the help of enzymes, and that enzymes are myosin kinase and myosin phosphatase. Other muscle don't use enzymes to contract.
Okay. Okay. Taking. Thank you, sir.
All right. Any other question? Any other question? Look at it here. Uh, Under contraction, differences. Okay. Okay. So you have enzymes here, which is myosin kinase and myosin phosphatase. This is it. This is it. Myosin kinase and myosin phosphatase. This enzyme is only present in the smooth muscle, and in skeletal and cardiac muscle, you don't have it. Any other question? Any other question? Any other question? I think that means we are
Hello,
okay.
sir.
Okay. Good evening.
Hello, sir.
Good
Okay.
evening, Mudashiru.
Good evening, sir.
Mudashiru Obasa.
Uh, my question,
Sorry, sir. Are
yes,
you
sir.
the Lagos State speaker?
No, sir.
Eh.
No, no, sir.
Okay, okay.
Yes, sir. Okay. Sir, I want to. How does the mineralization occur in the body? Mineralization of the bone.
Okay, mineralization of bone. Very good.
Yes.
Now, I told you that three organs controls minerals. Calcium. Let's focus on calcium and phosphorus in the body. You have bone, you have intestine, and you have kidney. Okay. Now, where do you have those minerals? You have it inside the blood. It is either it is very high or it is very low in the blood. Okay. Now, where is this stored? Those minerals are stored in the bone. Where is it eliminated? It is being eliminated by the kidney. Where do you get it from? It is gotten from the intestine. So what are we saying now? You have bone, you have intestine, you have kidney. When you want to lose mineral, you lose it through the kidney. When you want to get it, you get it through food from the intestine. When you eat food, it will absorb the mineral. Then when you want to store it, you store it in the bone. All right. So when it is low, it will be released from the bone. When it is high, it will be removed from the kidney. When the body needs to restore it to get more, it will be gotten from the intestine. And which hormones regulate minerals? Many hormones regulate. We have one that is called parathormone. Parathormone is a typical hormone that causes what? Mobilization of when these minerals is low in the blood. We don't have mineral. Okay, and the ones that is stored in the bone, this parathormone will go and mobilize them to be released into the blood so that the blood can circulate those minerals to other part of the body that needs them, like the muscle, because muscle cannot contract without calcium. So if calcium is stored in the bone and the muscle needs it, parathormone will be released, get the calcium from the bone, take it to the muscle so that the muscle can use it to do contraction and relaxation. Okay, in the process of blood clotting, calcium is also being used. Calcium is also being used in the blood, in blood, to clot blood, maybe due to injury. Okay, again in neuron, for you to able to think, to wake up, to sleep, to run, the neuron of the brain also needs calcium. So and this is where you use calcium. Okay, these are the places you use calcium, so that but it is stored in the bone, it is eliminated in the kidney, it is gotten from the food in the intestine, but hormones regulate it. So it's hormone that we, once it is small, low or high in the blood, it is hormone that we either allow kidney to lose it or allow bone to get it. Okay, such hormone is parathormone. Another hormone is estrogen in women. Estrogen allow calcium to be stored in bone for mineralization of that bone. Okay, when estrogen is not available in women again due to menopause, okay, you see that what calcium is no longer being stored in the bone, so bone will become their fingernails, the bone, the skin, and that's why they become wrinkled. Their hair, they will be losing hair because hair will lack calcium. The bone will become weak, feeble and fragile. Osteoporosis will happen. So because when they are in the adolescent and reproductive age, it is menopause that is making them to have a smooth skin, shiny teeth, shiny hair, shiny skin, strong bone. But when they enter menopause, they begin to lose estrogen. Estrogen level will become so low, and the role of calcium in making the skin to become elastic, making the muscle to contract, that is why their breast will sag, their skin will become wrinkled, their hair will be dropping, they will be losing hair, their bone will become brittle. Okay, so these are some of the role of calcium and the organs in the body that regulate this calcium and hormones that regulate calcium. Okay, Mudashiru Obasa, I hope
Thank
you
you,
are
sir.
satisfied now.
Yes, sir.
Hello,
Sir,
hello,
All
sir.
right.
sir,
Hello, sir.
sir.
Okay, I think two people are talking now. Razak.
Sir, my question is this: based on the estrogen on menopausal women, can estrogen be induced on women that attain menopause so that the bone can gain calcium? Can it be possible to induce estrogen into women that attain menopause? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Razak. Women at menopause
Sir,
take supplements. They take supplement. Forever women, all those, they have drugs, and those drugs contains estrogen pill. Okay, the only way to treat menopause, because you to manage menopause rather, because you cannot
yeah.
treat menopause, you cannot reverse it, and you cannot
Okay.
treat it, you only
Okay.
manage it. And what do you
Okay.
manage? You manage the side effect of menopause
Okay.
by taking supplement,
Okay.
that contains estrogen. So
Okay.
at menopausal stage, if
Okay.
women wants to reduce those menopausal symptoms, they will
Okay.
take supplement that contains estrogen. You don't induce
Okay.
it,
Okay.
you
Okay.
take
Okay, sir.
supplement.
Okay,
All
sir.
right.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. God
Obasa
bless
is
you, sir.
asking, yeah, Obasa is asking about what is a disc, intercalated disc. And I've explained that intercalated disc is found only in the cardiac muscle. And I told you the reason, that because cardiac muscle is cardiac muscle works continuously and it must not get tired. So intercalated disc is a type of junction. It's a junction. When you look at cardiac muscle, let me show you. Cardiac muscle is branched. Okay, it's a branched muscle. Look at it. Look at cardiac muscle. Look at how it is. You see that it's branched. So you have intercalated disc in between the branch to facilitate rapid exchange of nutrients and impulses. So it's a type of junction that allows free flow of nutrients and impulse. Okay, so that's the joint. I hope Obasa Mudashiru is satisfied. So that disc, the meaning of this is intercalated disc. It's a junction in a muscle. And what's the function? It allows free flow of nutrients and impulses, so that there will be, because you can't, there's no excuse for cardiac muscle. For example, if cardiac muscle fail now, that person will die. In the sense that, because if there is failure in skeletal muscle, it will come back. You can have muscle pull and recover. But if you have sudden heartbreak, stoppage of contraction in the heart, that's the end. And that is why nature has provided those junctions to allow free flow of nutrients and impulses without any delay. Otherwise, it will cause problem. Any other question? This is 6:33. We
Hello,
are
sir.
supposed to stop. Mudashiru Obasa, go ahead.
The joint between the scapula and the humor, can we call it ball and socket joint?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Mhm. Okay. We are supposed to stop by 6:45. In the absence of any other questions, I think we call it a day. I will post all these lecture notes in your Telegram, so that you can also listen to the audio and read along. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you this evening. Bye bye for now. Till we meet again next
Thank you,
week.
sir.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thank you.
sir. Yeah. Have a nice weekend, sir.
And you too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.